Welcome to the Good Reading Magazine podcast. Good Reading is a monthly magazine dedicated to books and reading and aims to help readers discover their next favourite book. You can find out more about the books discussed on today's podcast at goodreadingmagazine.com.au.
Hello and welcome to the Good Reading Podcast. Dr John Tickell is a medical doctor, researcher and author who has spent decades studying the health and longevity of people around the world. His formula of activity, coping and eating draws on his medical experience, extensive international research and the lifestyle patterns of the longest living people on Earth. He's the author of The New Organic Revolution, but today I'm talking with Dr John Tickell about his new book, Your Best Immunity, Build Resistance the ACE Way. Dr John Tickell, welcome to the Good Reading Podcast.
Thank you, Greg.
When we talk about immunity, we're really talking about a system. What are the components of that system and how do they work?
Well, the immune system is made up of a lot of complex things in the body. It's the second biggest system in the body after the brain. So all the white cells that are produced by our spleen and our liver and the little lymph nodes and all those sort of things, and our blood system and our lymphatic system, the drainage system. So there are bits and pieces, spleen, liver, they're all involved in making these immune cells that the body circulates. And the immune system is your defense system, and it's my defense system. And we're born with a system called the innate immune system, which is a genetic way of mum and dad passing on some protection for us. But when we're born, then it's up to role modelling a parents, and then B, the individual as they grow up as teenagers, and how much CRAP we put into our bodies and how many times we walk around the block and all those sort of things.
What are the factors that might depress or lower our immune system?
Number one's age. If we look at the COVID stats in Australia, we note that 90% of COVID deaths are in people over 75 years of age. So our immune system peaks teenage years and early 20s, and then it degrades from there if we let it. So once we get to 50, most of us are likely sitting in an office, sitting on our backsides most of the day. We get up rarely. We used to go to the next office and say, "G'day, here's a copy of something." Now we press a computer button, and a lot of us eat lunch sandwich sitting at our computer. Then we go home and we have a little drink to relax, and then we sit down and watch television. Then we get back on our computer, and then we go to bed. So 90% of Australian adults spend 90% of their time sitting, lying, sleeping. So that's the worst thing we can do for our immune system. The second worst thing is the amount of crap food we eat, processed. I call it HI, human interference. I give people 8 seconds to look at a food or a drink and work out how much a human being has stuffed it up. So 70% of our food now has been highly processed, added sugar, added fat, and so that also is depressing our immune system. And the other thing is, I call them the ACE skills, Greg. A is activity, C is coping, stress management, and E is eating. So we cope pretty badly these days.
Part of your research has been about investigating what you call blue zones. What are they and what do they tell us about diet and lifestyle?
2 of our 5 children are medical doctors, and the 3 of us in total now have visited over 100 countries on the planet, looking at the living and eating habits of the longest living people on Earth. And the gold medalist right now, Greg, is a group of people who live in the islands of Okinawa off the southern end of Japan. That's one of the 5 blue zones in the world. So the islands of Okinawa, the Sardinia, and the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California. They're all sort of vegan people who've got no sense of humour. So forth and so on. There are 5 zones around which have been nominated by science, which is not only the longest living people on Earth, but the healthiest long living people. So in Australia, our life expectancy is still creeping upwards, but our health expectancy is going way down because we're getting sicker earlier. In fact,
we know that we inherit a certain amount of immune protection through the genes that our parents pass on to us. What part does genetics play in our immune system, and are we stuck with the immunity defined by our genetic makeup?
It depends which scientist you speak to. The older immunologists suggest that you're born with an innate immune system and that's it for life. The newer, younger, more researching immunologists are absolutely positive that we can not only support our immune system through life, but also degrade it by the lack of things that we do. So I'll give you an example of breast cancer. Now, there's certain genes like BRCA1 and 2, where if you have a blood test and you're told you've got a genetic factor, then your risks for getting breast cancer are a lot higher than a regular normal person or wife or mother or female walking around. The but is that female doesn't necessarily need to get breast cancer. They can do things in terms of lifestyle that prevents them getting breast cancer. So we can definitely affect our immune system when we're alive.
You say sleep is magic stuff. What happens to the body and particularly to our immune system during sleep?
This is the process of rejuvenation. So when your body's not doing anything else like working, staring, eating and all that, when we're asleep, our body has the chance to rejuvenate and regenerate a lot of our cells. And so people who say, oh, mate, I only need 4 hours sleep, they're kidding themselves. I mean, that lasts for a few years and then your body will catch up with you. So unless you're having a good sleep, once again, make sure you have a regular sleep. Make sure you don't get what we call blue light. Switch your damn computers and phones off at least an hour before you go to bed. Do not drink caffeine for the last 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed. All those little things, you know. And in a nice temperature, don't get too hot in bed, not too cool, just a nice moderate temperature. Pull the blinds down. So darkness is a great helper of sleep. So all those little things are in the book which help you sleep well and regenerate your own immune system.
You also come up with an immune system rating, an ISR. Can you outline the immune system rating for us and how we might use that to help our immune system?
If you went to a bank and say, I want a loan for $20,000 to buy a car, you know what the first thing they do for you is? A credit rating. Now, I think just as important as your credit rating is your immune system rating, because it gives you a fairly good, in fact, a very good idea of how resistant your body is to viruses, bacteria, and pre-cancer cells. And when people say, what are you talking about, pre-cancer cells? Most adults in the Western world develop what we call pre-cancer cells in their body every week. They're little cells that divide. And if they divide enough, they become a tumour, which is Latin for lump. And then that lump can become cancerous. Now, Australia now is rated by the World Cancer Research Fund as the #1 cancer getter in the world. We get more cancer per head of population than any people on earth. So your immune system, in terms of good resistance, is not just for viruses and COVID. And by the way, in the last 2 weeks, Greg, nobody will tell you this, there's been 2 more variants discovered by the World Health Organization, not just the BA2, but 2 more variants, which potentially are going to make, in the last week, like this weekend just gone, we had 90,000 new cases in Australia and 47 deaths. But the media aren't reporting that now because it's all about the elections, about floods and fires and all that sort of stuff. I mean, this is really serious. We've still got to be protective of our own system and our kids and all those sort of things, because during the winter, the virus is going to reinvent itself. Viruses can change their own genetics. Human beings can't. So when a virus gets inside you, it can transfer it and transform itself into a different virus. I can't remember your question, but that's the answer.
My final question to you is partly about the title of this book, The ACE Way. So it's a technique for improving your immune system. What is the ACE Way?
A is for activity. We've got to get off our backsides and move at least 6.5 hours out of the 238 you're awake. Coping is another way of saying stress management. Now, if I asked you this question or a series of questions, Greg, in the last week, have you taken 3 deep breaths every couple of hours?
I probably have, yes.
Have you sent a thank you note in the last week?
Can't say I've done that.
Have you watched a sunset or a sunrise in the last month?
Yes, I have. Twice.
Good. Have you climbed 20 stairs a day every day for this week?
Easily, no problem.
So I've got 30 relaxation things. You've got to do 2 of them every day to make sure your body switches off. Because if you've got an A-type personality, A-type people tap their pen on the desk, and male A-types, they push the flush button on the toilet before they finish peeing, and they're always in a hurry, they hate red lights, all those sort of things. So if you're that sort of personality, you do need to switch off. I tell you how to do it. So the book is full of little bits and pieces of information, how you can improve your immune system, do your own immune system rating. I'll give you one last stat, Greg. The Australian Institute of Health and Welfare every 3 years to do a number of stats. The last stat they gave us is this. By age 65, retirement age, 9 out of 10 of us have already got one chronic disease. I mean, that is total failure. I call it CHAD, C-H-A-D. So 9 out of 10 of us will have the early signs of cancer or heart disease or Alzheimer's or diabetes or dementia at age 65, and you might not even know it. So bottom line is you have to promote and increase your immune resistance to all these bugs and nasty things floating around there, because viruses are never going to disappear. They mutate, they change. See, the COVID virus isn't a new virus. It's a mutation of the SARS virus 20 years ago. So it's our opportunity, it's our responsibility to get this book. I think it's the first book in the world that actually spells out how you as an individual, how your people in your organisation, and how your family can increase their resistance to disease. The A is activity, the C is coping, the E is eating. I'll give you one rule. This is part of the questionnaire to do your rating. So eating, is more than half your intake of food plant or not?
I would say it is, but that's because I've made a conscious effort.
See, the longest living people on Earth, 70% of their intake is plant. So dogs and tigers, they have different teeth structures to us. They have claws instead of fingers, and they have very short intestines. So when they, gobble up some lumps of meat and stuff, the part that's digested is, and the rest goes straight out the back door. Human beings are totally different. We're more herbivores in terms of anatomy structure. So we've got very long intestines. So I'm going to tell you that in Australia last week, 77 Australians died of bowel cancer because we don't break our fast. A lot of people don't eat breakfast. See, 200 years ago, breakfast was 2 words. Break your fast with fibre, roughage. Fibre is only in plant foods. It's not in bacon and eggs. So those sort of little logical things about the anatomy, about the science, about your resistance are all in the book. So I'm saying read the damn book, because I'm the only one in the world who's actually suffered from brain cancer and survived for 12 years with human resistance.
Dr. John Tickell, I want to thank you for joining me on the Good Reading podcast. But as the Japanese saying goes, may your food and your lifestyle heal.
Hey, you've read a bit about that. So there's 2 great Japanese sayings. Nuchi Gusui, may your lifestyle and food heal. And the other one is Harahachi Bu, which means only eat until you're 8/10 full. And people say, what do you mean? How do I know when I'm 8/10 full? You eat slowly, because there's a 20-minute delay between your stomach being full and your brain knowing it. So Harahachi Bu, eat more slowly. So you're up to date with your Japanese, Greg. Well done.
Dr. John Tickell, thank you for joining me on the Good Reading podcast.
Good to see you.
I've been talking to Dr. John Tickell about his book, Your Best Immunity, Build Resistance the ACE Way. It's published by Wilkinson Publishing, and you can find it at goodreadingmagazine.com.au. My name's Greg Dobbs, and thanks for listening. Subscribe to Good Reading print and online magazine at goodreadingmagazine.com.au.